Hi, so before we get started, I'd just like to ask you, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel, and also at the end of the video, please consider give it a thumbs up if you found it useful. Also, leave a comment below on ways to, and suggestions and ways to improve this video moving forward. Let's go. This is Nilton from craftofprogramming.com, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a Maven project that works with JUnit 5 using IntelliJ IDEA 2019.1. So the first thing we're going to do is let's create a brand new Maven project. So in the new project window, let's select Maven and let's choose the JDK 1.8. Let's click next. The group ID, as usual, craftofprogramming.com. Artifact ID is going to be JUnit 5 Maven example, and let's just change this name to match the artifact ID. Let's leave the directory and let's click finish. And good, so we have a bare bones Maven project. Let's go to the Maven window here. Good. And lifecycle, let's just do a very simple compile. Make sure that everything is good. Good. So we have a successful build, everything is good. So now what we need to do is we need to add the dependencies with the Jupyter API and the Jupyter engine to have support for a JUnit 5 for our Maven project. So let's do that. Okay, so the first thing I did was I've added a dependency here with the Maven Surefire plugin. So this is version 2.22.1 is required to work with JUnit 5. Okay, so that's the first plugin that we need. So incidentally, you could have used the Maven Fill Self plugin, but you know, it's one or the other, so let's just use the Surefire plugin here. And also I've added the dependencies with the Jupyter API using version 5.41, as well as the Jupyter engine, which is using the same version. So notice that again the scope for the Jupyter API is test, whereas the scope for the Jupyter engine is runtime. Okay, so again let's go to our Maven window and just do a compile, make sure that everything still works fine. Good, still have a build success. Okay, so now that we have the Maven project set up, let's create our test class. Let's call it JUnit 5 Maven test, and make sure this thing that test class name ends with test or test case, because if not, the Maven Surefire plugin just ignores it. Okay, so let's add a test method here. And notice that as soon as I add the test annotation, the correct test import is being added from the Jupyter API. So let's add here some system out, and let's add a basic assert equals something very simple, 1 + 1, something simple like that, and let's add import statement. And again, notice that the assert equals is being sourced from the assertions package in the Jupyter API. Also, IntelliJ is telling me that I can make this, so I can also make the class package private. And let me add another test method. Obviously, let's change the name to flaky test. Let's add some system out here, and just to make sure that this test is not run, again, let's make it package private, and let's disable this. Flaky test. Okay, so what we have here, we have a plain simple JUnit 5 test with a very simple assertion here. One of them is using the new disable. This is equivalent to JUnit 4 ignore, and this is basically just to test the Maven project that we set up. So let's run test, the test lifecycle phase here, and see. Okay, so notice that Maven has correctly ran our tests, and it detected no failures and no errors, and one test was skipped. Okay, and you can see that the test method here, printout, has been printed here. Okay, so this is how you can see how simple it is to set up a Maven JUnit 5 project. So now what I'm going to show you here is how to configure JUnit 5 to run JUnit 4 tests using Maven. I have here the configuration and the previous configuration. So as you can see, the only difference really is I've just replaced the Jupyter API with the JUnit 4.12 dependency here, and the engine. As you can see, I'm using the vintage engine as opposed to the Jupyter engine. Let's go to my tests here, and let's convert it back to a JUnit 4 test. So notice that now Maven is already complaining, it doesn't know about these packages and so on and so forth. So let's clean this up and re-import this from a JUnit 4. And let's clean this up as well. Okay, assert equals, let's import that from the JUnit 4 package. And this obviously in JUnit 4 it's ignore. And let's make the class and the methods public again as per the JUnit 4 requirement. Okay, now let's go to Maven and let's run the tests. So as you can see, same thing, our test ran and print this to the output, and another test skipped. So that's basically how you would configure JUnit 5 to run JUnit 4 tests, or how you would configure JUnit 5 to run the latest and greatest JUnit 5 tests using the Jupyter API. I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching.